Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to start a new week, new theme this week. It's Monday. Let's get going. This week's theme is going to be mid-year highlights. We're halfway through the year, 6 months are over. What are some of y'all's favorite tracks that have come out this year? Somebody suggested Perfume Genius, which we've had on the channel before, and I've generally enjoyed their sort of art rock, art pop area of music. It's going to be interesting to see what they're doing now. Let's dive in. This track is called It's a Mirror off of their Glory album. Super buzzy low string, kind of a grungy chord progression. The semi-reverberary guitar off to the side too. Back and forth panning is a neat idea there. A little bit of tension there, but resolved rather nicely.
It's a mirror, holy terror, taking focus off the horizon. It's a chorus, reaching for us, forming locus wherever.
It's really hanging on that pedal tone there. Da 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 da. I guess it's two notes, not a pedal tone. Feels very cyclical, like unable to break through.
Can I get off with a real little mystery and let every echo just sing to
There's the reverb guitar again. We have this twangy, bluesy thing going on over here sometimes. What does this part remind me of? I want to say it's a 90s country track, but I can't place it. The clean guitars are a really nice addition to the heavy distorted one. Helps it feel grounded and retain the palatability amongst the more aggressive elements. Yeah, that's an intriguing track. Primarily because it's just not what I expect from Perfume Genius. I'm curious if the rest of the album is like this. I don't think I've listened to a full album, so I don't know how consistent they are. I think every track I've heard from him, which is 3, I think at this point, they're all very different. Definitely in a rock area, definitely a bit more on the artsy side of things. But each song has been very different vibes. And so this is very cool because it actually speaks to me a little bit more beyond my general appreciation for artistry and exploration of new ideas, the novel aspect that Perfume Genius tends to lean into as well. But this is grungy. In fact, the chorus reminds me a lot of Nirvana's Spotlight Hour, the time when they were really big on radio rock. I know that they had some louder, more abrasive songs prior to that, and some louder, more abrasive songs after that. But I mean, when I think about Nirvana, I'm not thinking about those primarily because I've never done a deep dive into them, but because I've heard Teen Spirit so many times, Heart Shaped Box so many times. It's a very palatable kind of angst. But those songs are what this verse reminds me of. It has a little bit of that grit, a little bit of that darkness. We have an acoustic guitar that has, in this case, a super buzzy low string. But it's also paired with these brighter, higher pitched, clean sounds around it. Even when we bring in the distorted guitar in the chorus, is it the end of the chorus maybe? I'm not entirely sure about the structure on this track. But even when we have that, like I pointed out there at the end, there's 3 clean guitars that accompany this one distorted one. And it helps to retain some of that brighter, cleaner, less gritty, less dirty sound alongside it. You can feel the grit and the tension and the aggressiveness of the distortion, but it isn't the primary sound, not like hard rock or metal, where that's like the core thing you're supposed to be listening to. This is a texture that goes along with the more palatable elements. Yeah, the guitar use on this is just excellent. And the more that I think about it, the more that I hear all these different parts to it. And, even I mentioned that the verse reminds me of grunge, which it 100% does. The chord progression, the left guitar riff that goes along with the chord progression, the general moodiness of it all. Yeah. But there's also that guitar over there in the right corner. And I pointed it out on the second time through. I did hear it on the first, but I didn't have time to bring it up because we were moving into the chorus by the time I noticed it. But it's a blues guitar. There's bends. There's these higher pitched sounds that almost sound like whistles or even little like harmonica-esque movements. It's obviously a guitar in timbre, but it has those bluesy qualities to what it's playing. And I think that's a really interesting combination here. Bringing the moodiness of grunge with the sorrow of blues and pairing that together. I also hear something slightly hopeful out of this blues guitar off on the side every once in a while. It's a rather complex emotional palette that Perfume Genius is crafting just within the first, 40, 50 seconds of the song, the verse itself. It's bringing together a couple of different sounds I don't think I'd ever expect to hear together and using them to tell a story that isn't surface level deep. It has complexity to it. I knew I was in for a ride pretty much as soon as this verse started, and I just felt it. I didn't quite understand what was going on yet. I still had to pick that apart, but just listening to all of it, I was like, yeah, this is going to be good. Then we get to what I think is the chorus, maybe? Like I had mentioned, this is where we get a bit more of the distorted guitar. We lose some of the brighter guitar sounds off on the side. The blues guitar leaves here. They will come back later to recontextualize some of the extra weight and size. But we just kind of focus on this anger for a moment. Now, granted, if you only listen to hard rock or especially metal, this isn't going to feel very aggressive or angry to you, most likely, in comparison. But for pop music, this has bite. This has grit. And I really want to know what all this is about. It's a mirror, right? I guess we'll get to this when we hit the lyrics. Because I don't know that I have a lot to add on to it here, but there is something really important in this chorus alongside the size of this distorted guitar and eventually the recontextualization of it alongside the brighter guitar tones that sit around it. It's the vocals. They kind of line up with the bass a little bit rhythmically here, but we just have this really tight cycle. It's like one bar long. We have two higher notes and then a lower note, a bit of a jump there. Then we come back up to the two higher notes and lower. And we just keep this going over and over and over. And you can feel the cyclicality. I think if it were a smaller amount of notes, maybe if even we didn't have this massive leap in there and it was just, three notes, do 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 do, I don't think it would draw as much attention to itself. But because of that really large jump down and then the even larger jump to get to the top of the stack, it feels very Sisyphean. It feels like we do all this work to climb back up and we're making the same, regressions back. So we put all that work in to climb back up and then we have that massive regression again. The lack of chord progression here leans into that as well. We have a nice harmonic cycle in the verse. We don't, actually, we have it in parts of the chorus too, but once we make it to this part, we don't. And again, I don't know if this is just like the back half of the chorus. Maybe this is a post-chorus. Maybe this is the chorus and the other part's the pre-chorus. Again, my understanding of the structure on this is a little off because it honestly felt linear up until like minute 2.5, which is like 60% of the song being over to where we finally hit a loop. So maybe the lyrics will give me a little more information on structure. I'm sure a second listen, now that I know what I'm in for, I could probably get a better feel for that. But just off of a first listen, I don't exactly know what to name these sections. But regardless, this point right here, it's just this circle. Very small, very quick, constantly going. And even after, when I had mentioned it in the reaction, I was like, oh, dude, this is being caught in a loop right here. As soon as I mentioned that, the vocals dipped down a little bit, something a bit more breathier and airier, quieter, something along these lines. I thought we had moved back into possibly the verse, as this is similar-ish to what the verse vocal delivery was like, but no, dude, we still were repeating this cycle just in a slightly different flair. I wonder if this is supposed to attribute to some sort of invisible circle. Being in a cycle without realizing it, where the other one is about being in a cycle and wanting to get out. Yeah, dude, you can feel all this coming together too. We have the sorrow, the moodiness, the gloom, just the general bleak coloring on the verse. A little bit of hope shines through every once in a while, but never really sticks around. And from here, we progress into anger, into cyclicality, trying to understand this anger through the more moody, depressive sounds of the verse. And that only makes things feel more somber. It makes it feel lighter. It takes some of the weight off as far as the heaviness goes, but it doesn't improve the mood at all. Like I said, I think it actually makes it worse. The rage mixes with the more melancholic elements. And it's just this being stuck in this mode, in this moment over and over and over. And when we think we've left, we're actually still there. I don't know what all that has to do with being in a mirror. I don't remember much else to the song. I mean, this took us at least to the halfway point just to hit these two moments. And then we were pretty much looping back around again, getting ready to head to the outro of the song on the second verse and the second chorus. So I'm sold on it though. Simple idea, but artistically driven. So much emotion, so many ideas, in such a small span of time. This is extremely efficient writing. I mean, there are plenty of songs that we've listened to that are 5 and 6 minutes long that I think don't do half as much as what this did in just 3. That's impressive to me. Let me hit some lyrics on this and then we're going to wrap this one up. So here we have a song about being stuck in cycles that block you from living life, possibly, but there's something more personal to it as well. I want to get to the personal bit afterwards and start with the larger, more relatable ideas. Verse 2 says, "What do I get out of being established? I still run and hide when a man is at the door, polishing boots down a line in the basement when I should be writing outside on my own." Basically saying that when I am at home, everything is in order. There is established order here. He says, I can go into my basement, I can polish all of my boots, I can make everything mine look pretty. But I really should be going outside, whether that is literally outside or just leaving the comfort of yourself or the shell that you've built to break down your walls and connect with people. I mean, this inside versus outside thing is probably figurative, but could also be taken literally if maybe you're just a shut-in, you like to sit in the house. And he says, what good is all of this if I'm not living my life out there? I should be writing outside on my own, he says. The chorus states it's a mirror, this holy terror, to look at yourself, looking back at yourself. This is the loop that we're talking about here. It's all of the things within us that cause us to withdraw from those around us. He calls it a holy terror, to be able to see yourself seeing yourself and not do anything to, and not necessarily to evade it in any way, but to not take the best message out of that. Instead, finding this to be a recursive loop that causes you to continue to look inward. He says it takes our focus off of the horizon, the things distant from us. It forces our worlds to be smaller than they could be. He says it's a chorus reaching for us. A chorus is a large sound. Usually, it could be a group of people too. Says that they're reaching out for us. This line I don't get. It says it's swarming locusts wherever you go. Not quite sure about that part. Swarming locusts tend to be a negative thing, but this seems to be a part of the song talking about how the world is trying to pull you outside of your comfort zones to have you connect with other people. So this song is primarily about this idea of being withdrawn and wanting to break out of that, seeing the signs that you should break out of it, and just not being able to because of this, this loop that you're in where you continue to look deeper and deeper within yourself. Now, verse 1, though, is interesting. This is the part that I think makes it a bit more personal to Perfume Genius, or Perfume, that's the artist name, right? Stage name for the artist. It's not like a group. Anyways, the lyricist of Perfume Genius. I'll put it that way so that I can't be wrong. Says, what do you get from the stretching horizon? That you'd leave me spiraling with no one to hold. Combing the floor with the light from a cigarette, something was making you sick in our home. Now, this could be relating to a part of himself, the darker part that says just stay here, forget everyone else, just continue this spiral right here? Why would you want to leave this place? What is really for you out there? But I also feel like it's the narrator talking to someone else who left them. Maybe it was someone who meant a lot to them and they left. Could be a friend, could be a relative of some sort, someone who was part of their life at one time and decided that going out, leaving was better, and they just could not wrap their mind around this. He says that you were combing the floor with the light from your cigarette, so it's dark in here, the light from the cigarette's the only thing. That's not putting off a lot of light, but it's enough for you to find what you're looking for. He says something was making you sick here. You didn't feel healthy here. You needed to get out and explore. What was that? Should I do that? Should I be finding something deeper out there rather than staying withdrawn? I wonder who this person is, if it is someone specific or if it's just an exterior you, someone that hypothetically has left their recursive loop and has found joy, and our narrator is asking them, hey, was it worth it? I'm kind of been having these thoughts that maybe I should get outside of my own mind and do that too, but it's scary. What was it out there that called to you? Just kind of being curious. So I think it can go either way. It could be something that caused our narrator to be more withdrawn. Someone ran out of their life and they're like, I'm never doing that to anyone again. I'm just going to stay here. Maybe they're walling up their heart. I'm never going to let anyone in so that they can't leave me again. Because he does say the second line, you left me spiraling with no one to hold. They were left in a worse position because this other person left. But the opposite of that feeling is that you need to get out there, you need to connect, you need to expand your own horizons. Your world ends with you. The only way to expand your horizon is to connect with others. So, yeah, very much. I'm going to assume that the gloomy side of this, the grungier side of the music, represents some sort of darker element that maybe isn't necessarily directly spoken in the lyrics, but maybe there's some sort of negativity that this person holds on to that keeps them inside. Maybe it's a neurological thing. Maybe the outside world's scary to them. I don't know. But the loop I did pick up on in the chorus. It is 100% the idea of the mirror being a holy terror that just absolutely solidifies this idea of stuck in a cycle. Yeah, it all kind of comes together. I quite enjoy that. This album came out in March, the tail end of March. Might as well be an April release. A couple of months old. I wonder if this is in my list already. I can't believe I would have passed on it, being that it's Perfume Genius. They've treated me well in the past with those other couple of songs I've heard, but this one absolutely sells this for me too, kind of hoping the rest of the album is similar to it. These are just my thoughts, though, on Perfume Genius's It's a Mirror. Let me know what your thoughts are. Did you enjoy it? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe you have your own interpretation of this track. Let me know. Put all that and any other thoughts you have down into the comments section. And above that, in the description box, you find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.